Sri Srimad His Divine Grace, Bhakti Swami, Sri Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Gandhi Swami Vishali His Divine Grace, Sri Prabhupada ki, Nanacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki, Harinam Sankirtana ki, Rattaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Kargol, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to see Guru and to see Gauranga, all that is to see Prabhupada ki. Can someone bring the Ashmana here? Cup. Should always be. Anyways, can you hear? Om Ajnanatimirandasya Ajnaranjana Shalakaya Chakshurandritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sadhatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Scha Hai Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishavanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatyam Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayana Rishi, the Supremmost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayasha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil. And a loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect.
Did you find the tissue?
Yes, thank you. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This second mantra is there, you have to listen carefully, maybe less known by most devotees. Very short mantra. Om Surabhyai Namaha. Om Surabhyai Namaha. Om Surabhyai Namaha. Mukam karoti vacharam pagom langayate girim yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam. Yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the morning program. I have a small living entity on my microphone. It's a beetle. Very fortunate beetle. Right in the microphone here from this room. Probably would like to be some other place. Liberated soul. So we are reading this morning from Canto number 1, chapter 2, very important chapter, entitled Divinity and Divine Service. And I chose text number 20, which is on the board. Evam Prasana Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Evam Prasana Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Evam Prasana Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Evam Prasana Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. Evam Prasana Manaso
Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha
Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha
Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam
Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam
Mukta Sangasya Jayate
Mukta Sangasya Jayate.
Evam Prasana Manaso
Evam Prasana Manaso
Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha
Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha
Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam
Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam
Mukta Sangasya Jayate
Mukta Sangasya Jayate. One more.
Evam Prasanna Manaso
Evam Prasana Manaso
Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha
Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha
Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam
Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam
Mukta Sangasya Jayate
Mukta Sangasya Jayate. Evam,
Evam
thus, prasanna,
Prasanna
enlivened, manasa,
Manasaha
of the mind,
of the mind
Bhagavat Bhakti,
Bhagavat Bhakti
the devotional service of the Lord,
the devotional service of the Lord
Yogataha,
Yogataha
by contact of
by contact of
Bhagavat,
Bhagavat
regarding the personality of Godhead,
regarding personality of Godhead
Tattva,
Tattva
knowledge,
knowledge
Vijnanam,
Vijnanam
scientific,
scientific
Mukta,
Mukta
liberated,
liberated
Sangasya,
Sangasya
of the association,
of the association
Jayate,
Jayate
becomes effective.
becomes effective.
Translation and purport of Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Kindly repeat after me. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness,
The mode of unalloyed goodness,
the man whose mind
the man whose mind
has been enlivened
has been enlightened
by contact with devotional service
by contact with devotional service
to the Lord
to the Lord,
gains positive
gains positive
scientific knowledge
scientific knowledge
of the personality of Godhead
of the personality of Godhead
in the stage of liberation
in the stage of liberation
from all material association.
from all material association.
Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:3, it is said that out of many thousands of ordinary men, one fortunate man endeavors for perfection in life. Mostly men are conducted by the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus they are engaged always in lust, desire, hankerings, ignorance, and sleep. Out of many such man-like animals, there is actually a man who knows the responsibility of human life and thus tries to make life perfect by following the prescribed duties. And out of many thousands of such persons who have thus attained success in human life, one may know scientifically about the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In the same Bhagavad Gita, 1855, it is also said that scientific knowledge of Sri Krishna is understood only by the process of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga. The very same thing is confirmed herein in the above words. No ordinary man, or even one who has attained success in human life, can know scientifically or perfectly the personality of Godhead. Perfection of human life is attained when one can understand that he is not the product of matter, but is in fact spirit. And as soon as one understands that he has nothing to do with matter, he at once ceases his material hankerings and becomes enlivened as a spiritual being. This attainment of success is possible when one is above the modes of passion and ignorance. Or, in other words, when one is actually a Brahmana by qualification. A Brahmana is the symbol of Sattva Guna, or the mode of goodness. And others who are not in the mode of goodness are either Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, or less than Shudras. The Brahminical stage is the highest stage of human life because of its good qualities. So one cannot be a devotee unless one at least qualifies as a Brahmana. The devotee is already a Brahmana by action. But that is not the end of it. As referred to above, such a Brahmana has to become a Vaishnava, in fact, to be actually in the transcendental stage. A pure Vaishnava is a liberated soul and is transcendental even to the position of a Brahmana. In the material stage, even a Brahmana is also a conditioned soul, because although in the Brahminical stage, the conception of Brahman or transcendence is realized, such knowledge of the Supreme Lord is lacking. One has to surpass the Brahminical stage and reach the Vasudeva stage to understand the personality of Godhead, Krishna. The science of the personality of Godhead is the subject matter for study by the postgraduate students in the spiritual line. Foolish men or men with a poor fund of knowledge do not understand the Supreme Lord, and they interpret Krishna according to their respective whims. The fact is, however, that one cannot understand the science of the personality of Godhead unless one is freed from the contamination of the material modes, even up to the stage of a Brahmana. When a qualified Brahmana factually becomes a Vaishnava in the enlivened state of liberation, he can know what is actually the personality of Godhead. Translation again. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service of the Lord gains a scientific positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead and the stage of liberation from all material association. So this verse is often quoted by Srila Prabhupada, and it's one of a series of verses beginning with Srimvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Vidyantasto Yavattarani Vidunuti Saritsatam. There's a few verses before this one. Upon arriving in America, Srila Prabhupada quoted and the prayers he composed this series of verses to underline actually the mission that he was carrying, and actually the mission that all of us have in life, that mission being to rise above the modes of material nature, to at least initially rise to the mode of goodness. And as mentioned in this verse, it is only when one rises in the mode of goodness that he can begin to understand and to apply, to put into practice the process of bhakti, devotional service. And it is only by this practice of bhakti, of devotional service, that we can transcend even the mode of goodness and realize factually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So the whole Vedic culture is arranged in such a way as to facilitate our rising, our gradual rising from the lower modes of nature to the, at least to the mode of goodness, from which, if we are fortunate to get the good association of devotees, Krishna Bhakti Janmamul Hai Sadhu Sangha. Let's explain in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how this awakening of bhakti, of devotional service, happens when one is fortunate to come in contact with one who has already awakened bhakti, or devotional service. At least twice, maybe 3 times, Prabhupada uses the word enliven. If one is not enlivened to bhakti or devotional service, he will naturally tend to be enlivened to material activities, because we cannot remain without being enlivened or without being attracted. By nature we are meant to be attracted to something or to someone, and those who are devoid of this transcendental knowledge have to be satisfied, although it is never actually satisfying, with so-called material attraction or material activities or material rasa. So that's why in the Vedic culture, I happen to be traveling to different places, promoting a particular theme which is meant to help us at least come to the mode of goodness and beyond. And that theme, I think there's a seminar where we'll be discussing more in detail. That theme is called Make Vrindavan Villages. Because when Krishna descends in the material world, he actually brings with him, he manifests, he displays, along with his eternal associates, that spiritual realm known as Goloka Vrindavan. So Krishna has actually created a system which he manifests and which he follows in Vrindavan and other places also, but especially in Vrindavan. The perfectional stage of both the spiritual realm in terms of bhakti and the perfectional stage in terms of the material realm, in terms of prescribed duties. Prabhupada makes reference here to prescribed duties, a very important term that we find also in the Bhagavad Gita. There are prescribed duties for mankind, for all of us here in the material world. We need to add the word Vedic prescribed duties. Vedic prescribed duties that Krishna displays actually in Vrindavan when he engages as a young boy, along with his brother, his older brother Balaram, and so many cowherd boys. Krishna, at a certain age, begins to look after the small calves, while the elders look after the cows and the bulls. That is one of the main activities in Vrindavan, and whether people can understand or not, or can believe or not, that is meant to be the standard activity in society, not only 5,000 years ago, but even today in our 21st century. We are very far away from that, and that's the main reason there is so much of chaotic condition in the world today. We are unaware of how we are meant to live. Why is therefore agrarian life? And we're talking about agrarian life. Vedic culture is an agrarian-based culture. A Vedic culture is a cow-based culture where all the members of society, when we agree to live in this more simplified lifestyle, we more easily and more quickly actually come to the mode of goodness. Why? Because we associate on a daily basis with cows. We are meant to associate with cows who are already, cows are ahead of us. They're already in the mode of goodness. Most people in Kali Yuga are not in the mode of goodness. So when we associate with cows, consciously or unconsciously, we develop the mode of goodness. Of course, I mean, developing the mode of goodness is like preliminary, as Prabhupada nicely explains here in the purport. We have a long way to go yet before becoming fully self-realized. So we are even missing the preliminary or the basics in Kali Yuga because of the ever-increasing lifestyle, which is primarily based and fostering more and more passion and more ignorance. Whole modern civilization based actually on these two modes of nature, passion and ignorance. And therefore, in that kind of scenario, it's extremely difficult to develop the mode of goodness. So the mode of goodness, in many ways, is preliminary. Of course, Bhakti or devotional service, beginning with the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name, as mentioning here in this chapter. It all begins actually with Srimvatam Swakata Krishna. By hearing transcendental sound vibration, that's why the chanting of the holy name in public is very important. Most people who happen to hear us chanting, whenever that happens, they don't generally, most people are just totally unaware of what's taking place, but they are coming in contact actually with the spiritual world. They're coming in contact with one of the primary activities of devotional service, Savanam Kirtanam. They're hearing this transcendental sound vibration, and in this way, even without being aware of it, they are beginning their spiritual life, Avyata Sukriti, without even knowing it. So it's a long way in Kali Yuga, well, anytime, but more so in Kali Yuga because the lower modes of nature are so strong. And therefore the presence of devotees in the preliminary activities of, well, they're not only preliminary, it's not that we begin with chanting and go beyond the chanting. The chanting, as Prabhupada explains, continues in the spiritual world. But Vijnanam, you hear the word Vijnanam, there's Jnanam and Vijnanam. Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. Vijnanam means realized knowledge. Vijnanam means practical application of this science of bhakti or devotional service. And that practical application means living a lifestyle, agreeing to adopt the prescribed lifestyle that is recommended in the Vedic literatures, which has been demonstrated directly by Krishna himself in the small village of Vrindavan. So the small village of Vrindavan is actually hiding, in one sense, two levels of reality that we could call two levels of dharma. One being the spiritual dimension of Sanatan Dharma. Both are actually of the nature of Sanatan, means eternal. The science of relationship that we find in Vrindavan. The residents of Vrindavan are all in different kinds or different levels of relationship with Krishna, isn't it? From Shanta Rasa up until Madhurya Rasa, which is a whole big topic in itself. But not only are the residents of Vrindavan fully engaged in fully manifesting this transcendental, or more accurately described as devotional, transcendental devotional level or aspect of spiritual life, they are also manifesting and living what is meant to be the material level, material aspect of of life, which is connected with cows and lamb, isn't it? These are described in the Shastra as the three gifts of nature. We have forgotten, most of us have never known, most people are totally unaware that God has created, Krishna has created, has given to humanity three gifts of nature by which we can more easily and more quickly also come to the advanced and ultimately perfectional stage. So advanced stage is like Brahminical culture. Those who take up the process of bhakti by nature develop Brahminical qualities. Because bhakti is actually transcending, isn't it? Pure devotional service is transcendental to the mode of goodness, so therefore pure devotional service is transcendental to being a Brahmana. Brahmana, by definition, means one who is in the mode of goodness. But most Brahmanas in the world today, whether in India or outside of India, except for those in Krishna consciousness, but most Brahmanas don't know about Krishna, don't know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They know Krishna, but not as Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So, Bahunam Janmanamante Dhyanam Mam Prapaditi Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurava, as Krishna explained in the Bhagavad Gita. It is after many, many lifetimes that one will come to that perfectional stage of understanding Vasudeva as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva means Krishna. Such a personality is, or such realization is very rare. So this is what all of us are trying to do, isn't it, as devotees? That is what Srila Prabhupada, that is why Srila Prabhupada established his International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to introduce these concepts, this philosophy, and not only to speak about it, but actually to factually show by example. Of course, every devotee who is practicing nicely is showing by example in terms of his individual personal life. In addition to that, Srila Prabhupada wanted us to create, to revive, to re-establish that Vedic culture, which is meant to be and is also an eternal culture, where we live in connection with cows, where we live in connection with Krishna's nature, Mother Nature, and where we are primarily focused on cultivating knowledge, isn't it? So these three gifts of nature are essential, fundamental, foundational to the Vedic culture. Cows, land, and knowledge. And of course, knowledge means generally Brahmanas are the ones who are meant to cultivate knowledge, but that is not the all in all. Brahmanas need to also rise above that mode of goodness and to become situated in Shuddha Sattva means pure, unalloyed goodness, which is the level of Bhakti or devotional service. So in this way, all of us we should try to understand we are a part of this mission of the Lord, and we cannot actually phantom our great fortune. When we look at how many people are chanting Hare Krishna in the world today, how many people are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day? Well, it's much less than 1%. I mean, it's a fraction of 1%, whatever. And therefore, all of us, in whatever way that we can, we should be, as mentioned here, we need to become enlivened. Enlivened means utsaha, isn't it? Enthusiastic. We may not be able to do what Srila Prabhupada has done, traveling all over the world, opening so many temples and making so many devotees, but wherever we are, in whatever capacity, whatever service that we may be having, we are getting this rare opportunity to help all of this actually take place, to help manifest. Prabhupada mentioned how one of the purposes of the Krishna consciousness movement is to bring a complete overhaul in society. It's a tall order, as they say. It means to change the whole direction of what Prabhupada termed as misdirected modern society. So it may seem, it is actually from a material point of view, it's like totally impossible. Fortunately, for devotees and for Krishna, nothing is impossible. So we should have that firm faith, that strong determination, clear understanding that whatever is mentioned in the pages of the Bhagavatam, whatever is explained to us by our founder Acharya, whatever instruction he has given, which may seem, again, practically impossible, are actually possible by his mercy. And our success is not so much in seeing or immediately making these major changes. Our success is simply in carrying out to the best of our ability, endeavoring with all sincerity to carry on these instructions given by our founder Acharya, by our Vaishnava Acharyas, and in this way Krishna will take notice. This verse especially is telling how when one is able to become situated in the mode of goodness, the symptom being, as described here, one's mind will become prasanna. Even prasanna, so one's mind will become peaceful. And with a peaceful mind, one will nicely be able to engage in activities of devotional service. And by engaging in such activities of devotional service, we will draw the attention of Krishna. Krishna is attracted, actually. Krishna is not attracted, but he's attracted to Bhakti, to devotional service. So anyone who engages in devotional service, Krishna becomes attracted, he feels obligated, and he wants to reciprocate. And therefore, Vijnana. Vijnana means actually reciprocation. Krishna reciprocates. He gives us dadami buddhi ukamtam yena mam panyatite. So if we hear regularly from Bhagavatam, if we chant the holy name, if we endeavor to engage in devotional service, then all of these purports in the Bhagavatam become more and more meaningful to us. In one temple recently where was it? Mm, yeah, in Bangladesh, they have a nice little table like this, and in the middle, of course, in the middle of the table they have a clock, so that whoever is giving Bhagavatam class, of course the clock is there, so it's not a problem. But it's time to end the class. If there's any comment or question, take a few minutes. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Thank you so much for your lecture. I just read in Bhagavatam 7.11 about the Varnashrama system
Yeah.
and who is meant to do what.
Yes.
And of course it's essential to be in this form communities actually and do what we should do.
Yes.
But usually we are such a confused society that nobody knows what he
Yes.
should do. So maybe you can enlighten us.
How to go from chaos to, how to go from confusion to clarity. Well, Srila Prabhupada, he mentioned that modern-day society, which is going in the wrong direction, basically needs to receive this knowledge and to go from where we are today to where we should be is a major challenge for all of us. And most of our devotees are in city temples, and what is important to understand is that we need to be in the cities for preaching purposes, and but we need to preach keeping in mind two aspects or two objectives, I would say. One is to, whenever people come to us, either in so many different ways, especially often through book distribution or Harinam, when we make ourselves available, obviously people can come more easily in contact with us. Then we need to, in this way, as people come and inquire, we need to train individuals, we need to prepare persons who are in the process of becoming devotees to be part of the preaching mission that we have in the cities, because more and more people, that's the modern trend, increased urbanization, more and more people living in the cities, which is actually against or going contrary to what Vedic culture is advocating. So that kind of preaching needs to be there. We need devotees in our city temples to preach and reach out to people on the one side. On the other side, we also, it's very important for those in the cities to know, to understand this other dimension. In other words, the vast majority of people in general, including the vast majority of our devotees, are meant to live and can also engage in preaching in a rural setting, means in communities, ultimately means villages. So that's why Srila Prabhupada spoke about Varnashram College. And we need to educate ourselves, we need to educate others in the basic concepts and principles of what is Vedic culture in terms of village life. See, there's one life in the temple, which is of course wonderful and ideal, but outside the temple, whether it is in the city or in the country, there's a whole, we could say, other life, and there are different, we call, they're called vidyas. Vidyas means different sciences, different skills, different kinds of knowledge that is needed for those who are meant to live as it is prescribed in the Vedic culture. So in other words, we have, for example, here in Switzerland, we have a few persons who are connected with some land, and it's important for us to be in contact with them and to see how this whole aspect can be, for example, every day we have to offer something to the deities, we have to cook the deities, and therefore it begins by being aware, conscious that, well, we should try to offer as pure food as possible, isn't it? We should try to offer milk that is pure, means ahimsa milk, which is not so easy to do. We should offer flowers that we grow ourselves. I think you have a little bit of land here, you're already growing. But in other words, we should want to do things, offer things to Krishna that are original and pure, and ideally that are coming from the hands of devotees, isn't it? Food that is devotee grown, flowers that are grown by devotees. Incense, every day we offer incense, but most of the incense on the market is bad incense, is full of chemicals and whatnot. So in India, for example, more and more devotees are encouraged to use like Panchagavya products from cows, from cow dung. We have already various products, not only for the deities but also for ourselves. We're using commercial soap. We're using so many things commercial, which is actually not healthy for the body and is therefore also affecting our mind. There's a book, I didn't bring it, but this book is hidden in this little card that I have here. I call it my magical card. I showed it yesterday at the program. So I happen to have a magical card. I'm very proud of my magical card. It means that, like usually people, even now, people exchange like their business card. So this is called a digital card. So you can have access to this. There's like a link, basically, whereby you can have all kinds of information. And one of those is like this particular book, which gives a lot of, all of the major quotes given by Srila Prabhupada. The book is called Speaking About Varnashrama. That's the title of the book. It's in the database. Anyone have access to the database folio? Yeah. So it's there, but it's available digitally, in digital form. You can just, if you have this link, not only if you have this link, but it'll make it easy if you have the link that's connected with this card. And you can read and download actually this book. Otherwise you have to carry it around or you have to pay for it, but it's available like that. And therefore, this is one of the important recommendations that I give as I travel to different places. Devotees, let's say once a week, can begin to just read for half an hour or 45 minutes. We have some groups, online groups also, who are just reading this particular book, which means it's a book commissioned by the GBC many years ago when that was on the occasion of Prabhupada's centennial. What year was that? 1990? What does centennial mean? Prabhupada's centennial. When was Prabhupada born? Hare Krishna. 1896, right? Prabhupada was born in 1896. So if you go 100 years after that, where do we come? 1996, right? So in 1996, there was a committee established to look into community development, and they came up with this book, Speaking About Varnashram, very important book. It's 100% quotes from Professor Prabhupada. If anybody wants to really get into more details and understand more clearly what Prabhupada said, that is a book to read, basically. And it's available here, right? So, after the class, maybe in a few minutes, there's two ways that you have what is called NFC, which most people, they have it actually, but it's not on. Otherwise, you can just with a scan, there's a QR code here that you can send, and immediately you can have it. And then there's a website, there's all kinds of information there, that's including that particular book. Yeah. So that's something practical you can do here. You can have a group for Matajis, then you can have a group for the Prabhus also. and you can hear what Prabhupada is telling and discuss. You can even make a group and you can be in contact with other groups possibly. We're trying to have more devotees because the whole Varnashram aspect, as Prabhupada has mentioned, still very much remains 50% of his unfulfilled mission. That's mentioned in the book and different references regarding that as well. Any other question? We'll leave it at that for now. And so this card is here. It's free, and it's anyways, available. Thank you very much. Jai Bhakti Bhagavatam Ki. Hare Krishna. So who will be the first in Zurich?
Can I take a picture of the QR?
Yeah.
Can
Well,
you send it in our group maybe after?
Yes.
you can just, right? If you scan it, once you have it, you can just share it with everyone, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah. You have a cell phone? Do you have NFC? NFC? Let's see. Nothing comes up, right? Okay. Then you can just, like she did, you can just scan it. And if you have connection, it should come up.
Yes.
It's coming up?
Yes.
Right, there you go. You see?
Oh wow.
Oh wow. Yeah. Does anyone does anyone put on what is called bhajan in the temple? Prabhupada playing bhajan?
We can put it
Huh?
from the altar. We can put it.
From the, yeah, right.
Should
Okay.
I?
Yeah. I don't hear it.
Should I put it?
No, I'm saying it should always be on.
Ah.
Jai, this is so amazing.
Yeah, when you walk in the temple, it should not be, when we go back to the spiritual world, it won't be silent. Some Prabhupada bhajan should be there.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
So do you have some few minutes?
Yeah, a few.
Yeah, I was just wondering because Kalakanta Prabhu was here last year.
Yes.
Yeah, and he gave us kind of the mission to go in this direction of actually.
He gave permission to go in which direction?
Yeah, to grow our own food stuff and
You don't need,
cows.
why you need permission? Anyways, okay, yeah.
No,
He encouraged you.
Like the mission, I
Yeah.
should take up this responsibility that there's something going on. And yeah, he was encouraging, how do you call it? Like that the devotees should cultivate their own vegetables at home and so on.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to ask if you're giving the lecture or the seminar, that you can really mention that and encourage to do so. And then we have a group already that is going on since summer. That's trying to do something, and also like this garden around the house and do something. So yeah, it would be very nice if you can mention this and encourage everyone to do this.
That's the Prabhupada often he would say, first is food. First is food, then want to eat food. But the principle of growing food is very basic in the culture. If you solve the food problem, you solve so many problems. So yeah, I think the bakery, even if you have a small piece of land, or even a pot, you can grow something. Plants, the water should be placed to grow both food and also flowers. Yeah.
Yeah, this flower topic is also coming up because this is like so
Well, we are, I didn't go to flowers, but most flowers that we offer to the speaker of the Bhagavatam or to the ladies for that matter, we should not offer to them because they're not, they're not natural and very often contaminated. Yeah, so we have to show by practical example this mission. People should be aware, should be encouraged to grow something. Even somebody stays in a high-rise apartment, it is a very bad thing. A little bit of space can be there. The more space we have, the better. And it's, just doing that one immediately gets in contact with the master.
Yeah, it's just a bit difficult to start in that sense because if you're not connected to this, like your whole life, it's very difficult.
Yes, it's all about becoming reconnected. Reconnected, we need to reconnect. Yeah. Although, I keep that in mind, I mean, I generally encourage devotees to do this specifically.
Yeah, do you have like a tip or a suggestion how we should like if this is the way that we just start gardening so on our what is the most important?
Manual how to start it. Well, I mean, I don't have a manual as such, but there's so many people who do gardening, so one can Google also. I mean, there's so much information is there on the internet how to start small gardening or whatever. Practically anything, so many things we need to learn is available, but I'm sure there are devotees that will have some, possibly some input on that, but we gotta work together. Yeah. Maybe somebody who knows what he's doing right now. I know two marketers in Canada who are extremely expert, very, very expert in growing food. I can give you a contact. One of them is supposed to write a book actually. Yeah. And they both in the province of Quebec. So, let's see. Yeah. I mean, which means they speak French mostly, but I think they can also communicate with English. Yeah. Yeah. I'll
Like in a Jaran Prabhu, every week I wouldn't be able to I'm still, I feel so physically. I even kind of like nausea.
To do this lunch?
No, I mean breakfast. I really like it. It's the whole morning and rest. It's just concentrating. It's like I'm craving nausea. And it's like nausea. But I really ask still Jaran Prabhu. I'm very sick.
He didn't do it that way, right? I don't know.
You know, sister Masa about this? You know, like, okay. Headache and you know even migraine is migraine and then cool. You know about this international communities, it's I totally agree, but also we have to ask them what are the impediments for this, because it's not easy to do. It's actually just it's really hard to do because many developers they try to create some and then after some time it's just like this.
Yeah, I think
It's not
there are
to
few points here, and I think the most important is strong Krishna consciousness. If you're not Krishna conscious, you will never be Krishna.
yes, it's
And this is the first point. But the second point, I think, is of course goodness, that you're in goodness, but it's always if we're not a family, if our heart is not together as a family,
yes,
we cannot sustain.
yes, this is yes. We cannot create family around the temple. How can we create family? And you know, also there is a big change also in this communities because when we start growing everything and also contact cows to take care of the cows it takes so much work, so much service and so much energy and this so much work, physical labor and not enough time and energy because you really get tired because you work on the fields and everything and not enough time for Machitana Gavapana and without this you know this Machitana Gavapana. This is Krishna Kakha together. This is what I mean, this building relationship.
No, this
And without this Krishna Kakha together, no one can be Krishna conscious. Krishna consciousness goes down and also relationship become and everybody feels lonely. Like we have this problem in Krishna Maya. This is one of the most successful farms, Krishna farms in the world. But even there we have so many challenges and so many devotees, like also many devotees left in the nearest, like in the how to say, past few years. They live outside of the farm and they live in the near village, but they don't want to be dependent on the farm because if you are dependent, then you have to serve Allah, no time for sadhana, no time for Krishna Kakha relationship, and I feel really, really, because I have how to say, to fully embrace it and like go to that direction fully. Partially, yes. Small steps, yes. We can do already now small steps. And we're doing it. Yeah, there are some. But to fully, it's we need time. Yeah, we need time and we need like some changes, some also. Yeah, not fully ready. Yeah, because we have so many changes now. So many. But of course, for the future, yeah, of course. This is I totally agree. And Yoga Maharaj also says the same. He also has a big seminar over international Dharma. We have even a book. He has written a book in international compendium, but it's just compendium. It's just yeah.
Can we go to the
Yeah.
Oh, Krishna Chaitanya and this it's really, I just read this by Narva Muni actually, he's telling how much, how to, like this one system, it's not here, this is not
Oh yeah, you're talking about it.
and there it's really written how actually the for different orders they have different rules. But the women, they have only one description.
Mm-hmm.
And they should follow this one. Arjuna is saying that women are polluted, the Lord Shiva is coming and then everything is actually good. So isn't it that actually we cannot do anything actually I cannot do anything in that sense here. But we really have to re-establish this Varna and ashram. Like the ashram even. We are so confused about it.
Yes, yes, yeah. Yes, I agree that the woman should follow her husband, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't have a varna. She has, but it's natural for her to follow if their varnas are compatible. The same varnas. Then if my husband is Kshatriya, Arjuna for example, then it's very easy to follow the 5 husbands because they're Kshatriyas, she is a Kshatrini. No problem, why not? Yeah, so. Yeah, that's why it's easy. Otherwise, if she imagine she is a Brahmini and her husband is Shudra, how do you follow for a Brahmini to follow the husband Shudra? Ideally she has to follow, but how? If she is a Brahmini, she has much more bigger and stronger intelligence, but he has small intelligence. Yeah, that's why it's also important how the marriage is, arranged. It's all in the Vedic system. The marriages should be properly arranged according to the Vedic system. Then for wives, it's easier to follow their husbands. But very also important point. I don't know if I have shared with you this yet. I don't know. Recently, I listened to one lecture about a devotee was